Hello adventurers and welcome back to my channel. This morning I'm waking up and it is glorious outside. I've already been moving around, got dressed, and well, I'm trying to figure out if I want to keep this spot or not. I want to leave and go into town and do a few activities, but at the same time, I really like this spot. So what I was thinking was I might crawl up onto my roof and see if I have my dummy tent with me. I keep a tent with me at all times just to kind of mark my spot if I find a spot that is worthy of being marked so I don't lose it. And I don't use it very often. However, if I find a spot like this that has water access, that's gorgeous, that might not be here by the time I get back this afternoon, I sometimes consider that. Other times I'll use my tent if like a friend comes along and wants to meet me and needs a place to stay, but typically I don't pop it out frequently. And in fact, I have a tent right now that I have never actually used in the roof because I purchased one at Five Below that was just a $15 tent. And so I was kind of thinking today might be the day to get that thing out because I really like this spot. And I'm going to be in this area for at least a few days. Now with that will also be the struggle of putting the tent back together after because it's a pop-out tent. So I'm not sure how this is going to go, but for now I think I'm going to open up the door, grab the ladder, and see what happens next. And as we do this, let's talk about why you would want to mark your spot versus why you wouldn't want to mark your spot. Now today this is going to be a little bit more complicated than usual because I do have to use my WeBoost here. With my WeBoost I have good service, which is a reason I would want to mark my spot. Finding service in a beautiful remote area is sometimes harder, and so if you find a campsite where you can have boosted service, sometimes it's worth it. Now another reason to mark your spot is if you're going to be in an area that's a pretty popular area and you find something like I did, that you just can't match anywhere else. Normally, if you stay in the main campgrounds around here, they're pretty cramped right now, even during the week. And so this is a little less cramped. My nearest neighbor is about 100 yards in that direction, and the neighbors that I had previously behind me are gone now. So this is a much more removed and remote feeling space. And with that comes both pros and cons. The pros outweighed the cons on this one. So I'm definitely considering marking this space. But let's see if I actually have that tent up there or if I unpacked it because I don't use it very frequently. Well, this could be interesting because, again, I don't remember if I have it or not. Okay, let's see if it's even in here. Oh yeah, right on top. Okay, perfect. And then I'll just shift some things around to make sure everything's in good. And it's still stuck. There we go. And now we latch it back down. Now, I'm going to leave my ladder here for a minute because I'm going to clean my solar panel. But let's talk about a few other reasons why you would or would not want to use a tent and kind of what my experience has been using a tent. In the past, I've had both pros and cons. First off, let's talk about the cons that I have experienced. There have been a few, there haven't been a lot, but as a person who came from tent camping and then into van life, one of the major cons is the PTSD of a wet tent. Whenever I traveled a lot, I was packing up a tent every single day. I traveled for 3 years, for those of you who are new, and tent camped all across America. And I had no van, just a small car and a tent. And in that time, I learned a lot of really valuable lessons. The first of which is that if you have dampness on a tent, it really is not a fun experience. Looks like I broke my handle before I even used it, probably because it gets thrown around in the roof box. Because again, this is just a dummy tent. The other con that I had from tent camping for those 3 years was the fact that sometimes an item comes in a container and then it does not ever go back into that container the same way. No matter how much that you follow the directions, no matter how much air you squish out of it, no matter how much that you try your hardest. So those are two big cons of just getting out a tent in general. Sometimes it does not work out the way you think it's going to. But then in a personal way, let me tell you about one of my weird experiences of using a decoy or dummy tent. I was over by Telluride and I was out by this place that I camp pretty frequently actually. And I was like, ooh, I'm just gonna hold my space because I'm so excited, which people do out there all the time. Unfortunately, I only had my toilet tent at the time. It was a very small toilet tent. Popped it out, staked it down, went into town, came back that evening and somebody was in my spot. And I was like, okay, they didn't seem to care that I had a tent there. So I just kind of was like, hi. I was very timid at the time. Hi, it's my tent. And they're like, oh, you want to get it? And I was like, no, this was my spot. And they're like, well, you weren't here. Some people don't understand the Decoy tent. If you're not physically parked there, some people will still park. Now, is that right? No. Is it what people do though whenever they want the spot? Yeah, sometimes. So anything that you leave at a campsite, you have to be willing to A, realize it might not matter, or B, realize somebody could take it. Now, when I say somebody could take it, I mean that quite literally. I have a friend that I met very early on in my travels. She was camping in a place and she had her whole setup taken care of for the day. She ventured into town to go get supplies to come back to town, and by the time that she got back, somebody had literally taken all of her items. So anything that you leave, you want to make sure it does not have value. Enter the $15 Five Below tent. This is not something that I'm going to be super sad if something happens to it. This is not something that I'm going to cry in my post toasties if somebody snatches. And this is something that I'm going to leave here by itself without anything else. Never, ever, ever, and I cannot express this enough, leave items of value inside your Decoy tent. Because unfortunately, there are people who come around looking at camps, and if they find something that they think is of value, they'll snatch it. Now, this doesn't happen all the time, and a lot of times in more camping dense areas, you're less likely to encounter this, which is why so many people set up tents and just walk away and go adventure. However, never think that chances are zero that that's going to happen to you, because it could happen to you. The chances are always somewhat closer to 1% than you might think. So with that, let's set up a tent and see what we have in here. This is, again, just a Five Below pop-up tent that I picked up a while back. I haven't used this one. This is going to be a fun experiment. This is just a grab and throw tent, so it should be super easy. I need to figure out where I want to put the tent, and I'm kind of thinking right here. And the reason why is because from the road, you can clearly see there is a tent here if it's right here, and I'll still be able to back in whenever I get back. So I think that that gives me the best possibility. So on this one, all we have to do, it's a circle tent. So we unzip it, and the zipper's definitely gotten beat up quite a bit in the roof box. It doesn't want to go. There we go. And then we'll pull out the tent itself. This is it. I'm going to set this down. It has a few little stakes in it and some other stuff. I'll set it down, and then let's get started on this. It looks very, we will say I wouldn't probably camp in this if I was tent camping again. It's very flimsy. Okay, here we go. There is one strap on this to hold it kind of in place. Everything is folded into itself. So whenever we're packing it back up, we'll see if this actually goes back together correctly. All we should have to do is that. And then by the magic of tents, let's see if this works. It's pretty stuck in here. Oh, there it goes. Okay. That's it. That's it. Now we just have to figure out the top and the bottom, and this is one of the weirder circle tents that I've tried out. The vents are at the top, so up here, so that's good. We know where the top is now, and then we just need to figure out how to pull it out the rest of the way. This one is very weird, guys. Normally it just pops out and you're done. This one is a bit more complex, but overall it's going to be kind of like this. We'll see. Okay, it appears that down here everything is kind of twisted together, so that's fine. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and zip the door so we can figure out how to get this sitting up correctly. I will say this, it's sometimes just easier to have a real tent, and I do have like 4 or 5 of them, but again, this is a Decoy tent, so I don't want to use the good tent for that. Holes just kind of keep it together awkwardly, so I'm wondering, aha! These snap apart. When they snap apart, it expands. So this is not a true circle throw tent. Okay, from here, I believe we need to figure out how to stake it into the ground and pull it out so that we can have it expand a bit more. This is just supposed to be a 2-person tent, but this is more of a 1-person tent realistically. There's no rainfly on it that comes direct, but it does have one, I think, in the bag. I'm not going to worry about that too much. Inside here, in fact, we do have the rainfly, and then we have the stakes. These are terrible stakes. I do not recommend these stakes. I always get bigger stakes from Walmart, but we will try to use these if they will go into the ground. If not, we will just weight down the tent with some of those pieces from the fire ring over here because we can't have a fire anyway. Okay, let's see how this goes with the staking. Pull it out. Push it in. The ground is really hard. So these bend really badly, which is why I don't recommend them. So we're not even going to use those. We're just going to weight it down because this is kind of pointless in this hard ground. We're going to end up just bending them and being frustrated, and then it's going to be hard to get them back out. So instead, since it is just a decoy, let's just weight this bad boy down. Now we're going to tie this on so it holds in place. And for good measure, we'll go ahead and put our rainfly on here. And who knows, maybe I'll want to sit at this later. Okay, time to zip it back up. Then we're all done. Overall, you can see it's, again, not big, but it's not small. Again, it says that it's a 2-person, but I don't necessarily think that 2 people would be super comfortable in this that are average size. So could it work? Yes. Would it be tight? Also yes. But now let's talk about a couple more of the pros. The pros are definitely something that make having a decoy tent worth it. You get to save your spot. You get to have the appearance of it not just being a van, but also this. So more than likely, if you keep this out at night, someone, if they are up to nefarious things, will come up to the tent before the vehicle. Now, additionally, if you are a solo female traveler and you feel kind of uncomfortable, there are a lot of women who will put out a tent, put an extra pair of shoes beside it, and then no one is the wiser that there is only one person there. So that's something. Now, whenever you're leaving out a decoy tent, though, there's a few things I would definitely not do. First and foremost, like I mentioned, do not store anything in the tent when you are away from the campsite, period. Second, if you do have a decoy tent and you want to store things in it at nighttime, be aware that, again, if you wake up and that thing's gone, your stuff is gone. Just because you're camping here doesn't mean somebody won't traipse through. We proved that when we were in Creed, and again, terrifying to find out that people would come up trying to pillage probably. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, another thing that is nice about having the decoy tent, though, is that if you want to have an outdoor space that is not in your van proper, you can be in the tent and have shade, which is nice. That's why a lot of people like to have a bigger decoy tent so you can actually go in there and stand up and move around. Some people also use a canopy for that reason. But having the decoy tent here, or the dummy tent here, it does allow you to have that extra outdoor space. So if you're wanting that, position it in a way that you feel most comfortable using it. I'm not going to be using this for anything other than exactly what it is right now, so we're fine just as is. Now, if you are using a tent, always remember to pack it back up, take it with you, never leave anything behind. Leave no trace is real, no matter if you are in a van, if you're in a tent, or anything in between. Also, make sure that if you are using a tent, that you are clear and understanding of the fact that I keep re-emphasizing, you may not still have that spot just because you use the tent. Don't get offended, don't get upset. You can, in those cases, however, say, well, can I at least get my stuff? In which case, some people will be cool and some people will be like, So just kind of keep that in mind, keep your cool about it, and do not invest a lot of money into something that you're leaving ever at a spot. Do not do it. So Five Below is a great place. Walmart's a great place. You can find secondhand tents a lot of times at Goodwill, especially in recreational areas like Colorado. And so these are all options for you. But just keep in mind that whatever you find and do, that you're going to have to be responsible for how to secure it so it does not blow away. So for example, I looked in here today. They have the little tiny stakes, which as you can see, light, they fell on the ground. I'm going to pick those up in a minute. I would say that if you are trying to do this as a full-time, like go-to tent, that you bring better tent stakes and something to nail them into the ground, because not every place is going to have boulders like we're finding around here that we can use. And again, you don't want to leave it where it can blow. So if you get a good gust and you have those bad stakes, you're more likely to launch a tent. Trust me, been there, done that, not fun. I've also had a tent cave in on me in the night because I use those kind of stakes, and one side completely lifted up because they just simply aren't great. So be prepared no matter what you're doing, and think about those mitigation strategies for if you feel uncomfortable solo, by having the tent here as like a decoy so someone will go to it first, or by putting the extra shoes out. Do something to make sure that people know that you are not by yourself, even if you are by yourself. I think it'll just make you feel a little bit better. Now, as for the men out there, some men also feel uncomfortable, so this is a great way for men to work it out also. But as a person who has tent camped again for 3 consistent years at the beginning of my travels, what do I think about this tent? Well, to be honest, it's great for what it is. For anything more than that, I probably would say invest a little bit more if you are interested in actually sleeping in it. I don't think this one has any waterproofing whatsoever. The rain fly is mid at best. It just kind of clicks on. It doesn't have anything to anchor or secure it. The tent stakes themselves, those are easy to replace place, but the poles are not the greatest. Now, whenever I leave this site, we'll talk about how hard this thing is to fold up, because again, it was advertised as a true circle tent. And a true circle tent, you literally pull the strap off, pop it out, and it inflates itself, and you just put it into the ground with stakes, and that's it. This one is a circle tent in theory, because it comes in the circular bag, but other than that, it definitely is not a true circular tent. So again, I'll talk to you more about that whenever we fold it all up and get out of here. But for now, I hope that this is helpful to you if you are looking to save or reserve a site and you're doing van life or car camping. Again, it is an ebb and a flow. There's good and bad. There's pros and cons. For $15, this might hold my place for the night, and if it does, that would be absolutely epic, so I can get back into the water over here like you saw me do a couple videos ago, splash around and enjoy something cool after I am out and about doing a lot today, because today is about to be a crazy adventure day. You'll have to see that tomorrow though. But for now, remember guys, we're not here for a long time, but we are here for a good time. Are you interested in a dummy tent? Are you going to have a decoy? What are you using it for? Is it more for safety and security, or is it more for reserving your spot? Till next time, bye.